I, 53-year-old man, love to cook. There will be days where I slave away in the kitchen all day to make a big meal, and I will do it happily. My wife, 50-year-old woman, can cook when I'm not around, but honestly, I can't think of any time when she has made anything, because I always want to do it, and that's fine by me, as long as I feel appreciated for it. I have a 24-year-old son, Eric. My wife has a 19-year-old daughter, Liz, from previous marriages, and we have a 15-year-old son, David, together. Eric lives with us for now to save up money while he works, but still pays rent. He will eat literally anything with the exception of hating blue cheese. David likes pretty much everything, but is allergic to eggs. I can work around these constraints pretty easily when I cook. Liz is a different story. She has always been kind of picky with the foods she dislikes, but it has gotten way worse. She went to college for a semester and then dropped out, so now she is living at home. And while she was away, she developed some terrible pickiness. She has had stints of being a vegan, being vegetarian, being grain-free, pasta-free, oil-free, etc., but she isn't consistent about it. I try to help meet her needs, but on any given day, she has something new to complain about with a food I want to cook. Sometimes, she and I will debate for hours about what to make with me, basically saying, "Tell me what you want for dinner that will work for you, and I will cook it, so long as it meets the other kids' restrictions." And she is so unhelpful with this. 2 nights ago, I cooked a dish that Liz told me looked good in a book. We all sat down for dinner, and everybody loved it except Liz. She complained that she didn't realize there were peanuts in the recipe. And peanuts are so unhealthy for us. So she doesn't think she can eat it, and can I make her something else? I was fed up and told her, "No, you can eat this, or you will eat nothing. I am done having to deal with your pickiness and criticism of my cooking. I will no longer be taking any of your feedback on what you want for dinner, and will be cooking what everybody else wants. You can either eat that, or cook yourself something else." She started crying and said that I take the other kids' restrictions on what to eat, so why can't I do the same for her? I reminded her that Eric only dislikes a single thing that I don't care for either, so there's no risk of it popping into a dish. And if David has eggs, he will probably die. So it's not the same as her vetoing every single thing I want to make. My wife took her side and said that I am being too sensitive and mean, because Liz is not my real daughter, and I am showing favoritism. This is nonsense, by the way. I told my wife that she can cook Liz meals if she wants. As if, but I'm not going out of my way to meet her needs. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. The issue isn't your daughter's preferences, it's that they are constantly shifting. You are not playing favorites. She doesn't understand the work that goes into cooking, and is taking your cooking for granted. Your wife is too, by saying you should cater to your daughter's every day-to-day whim. Particularly offensive is that she even picked out the dish she wanted you to cook, and then wanted you to fix her mistake, overlooking an ingredient after you already put in all the work. Make her or both of them cook their own meals until they learn to appreciate your efforts. Comment 2. Now, this may just be me, but back when I worked in a psych ward, many patients with eating disorders would frame their disorder as a healthy diet, allergy, intolerance, so that their behavior, not eating a full, balanced diet, would not be recognized as disordered. The issue is that if they saw you adapting to this, they would keep adding new restrictions until you finally let them do what their disorder has been trying to get them to do all along: not eat. I am definitely biased here, but it might be worth checking out. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post about the family dinner drama. I thought things would calm down, but boy, was I wrong. After the peanut incident, Liz started cooking her own meals, which was a relief at first. But then, she began making passive-aggressive comments about how much healthier her food was compared to what I made. It was like she was trying to turn Eric and David against my cooking. Eric, who's been saving up to move out, got caught in the middle of this food feud. He's a peacekeeper by nature, and he tried to smooth things over by suggesting themed dinner nights where we could all agree on the menu. It worked for a while, until Liz decided she didn't want to participate anymore because she felt like her choices were never really considered. David, who's usually easygoing, started to get annoyed with Liz's constant kitchen takeovers. Since he's allergic to eggs, he's used to checking labels and being careful, but Liz's new habit of scrutinizing every ingredient out loud was getting on his nerves. Then came the jaw-dropping moment. One evening, while Liz was out with friends, my wife confessed something that shook me to my core. She admitted that she had been feeling disconnected from me, and that she was the one who had been encouraging Liz to stand up for her dietary choices. She said she felt like I was so focused on cooking and pleasing everyone else that I wasn't paying enough attention to her. This revelation led to a heated argument, the kind where old resentments come bubbling up to the surface. We brought up past grievances, like the time I forgot our anniversary because I was too busy planning a dinner party, or when she felt sidelined at a family gathering because I was too wrapped up in my culinary creations. In the midst of our fight, Liz came home early and overheard everything. She stormed into the kitchen, accusing us of always making her the problem when clearly there were deeper issues at play. Liz said she felt like an outsider in her own home, and that's why she'd been acting out with her picky eating habits. The confrontation forced us all to take a hard look at our family dynamics. We decided to have a family meeting to clear the air and set some new ground rules for mealtimes. We agreed that everyone would take turns cooking once a week, and the person cooking would make sure there was something on the table for everyone. Liz apologized for her behavior and admitted she had been unfair to me. In turn, I apologized for dismissing her dietary choices and promised to be more considerate. My wife and I agreed to work on our communication and to make more time for each other outside of the kitchen. Things were starting to look up, but then, just when we thought we had it all figured out, Eric dropped a bombshell. He had received a job offer in another state. It was an incredible opportunity for him, but it meant he would be moving out much sooner than any of us expected. The news hit us hard. Despite the recent tensions, Eric had been the glue holding us together. His departure meant that our family was about to change in a big way. We were all proud of him, but the thought of him leaving created a bittersweet atmosphere in the house. As Eric started packing his things, we all pitched in to help. Liz even put together a recipe book filled with all of his favorite meals that I had cooked over the years as a going-away present. It was a touching gesture that showed how much she had grown in just a week. The night before Eric's departure, we had a farewell dinner. I cooked all of his favorites, making sure there were no blue cheese or eggs involved, and Liz prepared a vegan dessert that was surprisingly delicious. We laughed, we reminisced, and for a moment, it felt like everything was going to be okay. Pregnant neighbor knocks on my door at 3 a.m. asking me to take care of her kids until her sister arrives. I tell her no. I, female, 26, live in a block of newly constructed apartments. Everyone moved in a year ago, so we are all becoming acquainted with our neighbors. There are several families on my floor, and we have a shared courtyard where the children play during the summer, providing an opportunity for conversation. In the past, we have helped each other out with things like formula milk and items for children. Mainly, I have been the one providing assistance. However, I try not to form close friendships. I have 2 children of my own, a 2-year-old and an 11-month-old. Currently, I am taking care of them on my own, as my husband has gone away for a few days to spend time with his family and friends. There is a group chat among the mothers in the building, where they arrange child swapping and babysitting for a few hours at a time. I mostly observe the conversations without participating because I am not comfortable with it, especially since my children cannot communicate properly yet. Last night, around 3 a.m., there was a knock on my door. My children and I were fast asleep. Initially, I tried to ignore it for a few reasons. I was alone at home, I wasn't expecting company, and it was 3 a.m. However, the knocking persisted, and my children started to wake up. Eventually, I looked through the peephole and saw that it was my neighbor. I opened the door and saw that it was her, accompanied by her boyfriend and 2 children. She was 9 months pregnant and clearly in labor, as they had their hospital bags with them. They asked if I could take care of their kids until her sister arrived in an hour. I apologized, but declined their request. I did not want to be responsible if anything were to happen to her children under my care. And I also did not want to risk waking up my own children. I believe that situations like these should be planned in advance and not rely on randomly knocking on doors in the hopes that someone will take in your children. Besides, I already have my hands full with my own 2 children, and I cannot handle 2 more running around my house at 3 in the morning. The neighbor and her boyfriend called me evil and rude. The boyfriend even criticized me, asking what kind of mother watches another person struggle. I feel like if my husband were here, he wouldn't speak to me in that way. Am I the jerk? Edit. It seems that there are a lot of entitled people here, or parents who think it's normal to relentlessly knock on a stranger's door at 3 a.m. to dump their kids on them. Edit 2. I think people are forgetting how 1-year-olds typically behave. They are usually very attached to their primary caregiver, and I'm sure that watching their parents leave them with me, someone they don't know, would have left them inconsolable. Having all 4 children awake at 3 a.m. and waking up my own 2 kids sounds like a nightmare. Edit 3. I just spoke to another neighbor who took them in, and she informed me that the sister didn't arrive until 8 a.m. Additionally, the kids were awake the entire time and woke up her children, causing a mess in her home. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I feel like this is something you need to plan ahead and not start knocking on doors, hoping someone takes your kids in. I've already got my hands full with my 2. There's no way I'm having another 2 running around my house at 3 in the morning. Agreed. You're on your own. There's a mom group chat of the moms in the building who swap kids around and babysit each other's kids for a few hours, and they rotate. They should have planned ahead with people in that group who are familiar with their kids. Comment 2. The idea of leaving your kids in the middle of the night with a neighbor you barely know for a prolonged amount of time without having pre-arranged or even warned them of the situation is mind-boggling. They had 9 months to plan and left their kids' safety and well-being until the literal last minute. Not the idiot. They are the kind of people to then announce it's all too difficult with a newborn. So now you need to keep the others for a fortnight. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a wild week, and I've got quite the update for you all. After the whole 3 a.m. incident, things got pretty tense in our building. The neighbor who ended up taking in the kids from the labor emergency was pretty frazzled. She told me the kids were a handful, and her place was turned upside down. I felt bad for her, but I was also relieved I stuck to my decision. Now, here's where things get interesting. My husband came back from his trip, and I filled him in on the drama. He was supportive of my choice, but suggested maybe we could do something to smooth things over. We decided to bake some cookies and take them over to the neighbor who helped out as a thank you for stepping up. When we knocked on her door, the atmosphere was tense. She accepted the cookies, but then, out of nowhere, she started venting about how the other neighbors were gossiping about me, saying I was heartless for not helping out. I was shocked. I mean, I knew people were upset, but gossip? That stung. But here's the jaw-dropping moment. While we were there, the couple with the newborn came over to apologize. They admitted they were out of line and stressed out. They even brought a little gift for my kids as a peace offering. I was taken aback, but I appreciated the gesture. It was a surprising turn of events, and it felt like maybe we could all move past this. Now for the steamy part, remember the boyfriend who called me evil? Turns out, he's been having some issues with the new mom. They had a huge public argument in the courtyard, and everyone could hear them. It was about how he felt neglected since the baby came. I couldn't believe he was making it all about him. The new mom was in tears, and it was just a mess. But then, my neighbor, the one who took in the kids, stepped in. She's always been the peacemaker, and she somehow managed to calm them both down. It was impressive to watch. She's got this way of talking to people that just diffuses the tension. In the midst of all this, my 2-year-old has been going through a clingy phase, which has been tough. But seeing the community come together in the aftermath of the argument made me realize how much support we actually have around us. It's not just about borrowing formula or watching each other's kids. It's about being there for each other during the tough times too. And speaking of support, my husband has been amazing. He's been taking the kids out to the park to give me some downtime, and it's been a huge help. He's also been talking to the other dads in the building, and they're planning a little courtyard barbecue for everyone to get to know each other better. So, despite the initial drama, it feels like the community is growing stronger. People are talking more, and there's a sense of understanding that wasn't there before. As for me, I'm still cautious about who I let watch my kids, but I'm starting to feel more comfortable with the idea of maybe joining in on the babysitting group chat. I've been chatting with some of the moms, and they've been really welcoming. It's nice to feel like part of the community. Oh, and the neighbor who took in the kids. She started organizing a weekly playdate in the courtyard for all the kids, and it's been a hit. It's giving the parents a chance to relax and chat while the kids play. It's been a great way for us all to bond. Rich boy dad makes me work at his company at 14, and I take over at 29. But then my friend Kim and I start cooking and dating. Now he's stressed and sick from his job, so I tell him to quit and do more housework. My sister hates that I spend too much on Kim's B-Day gift. We argue, but then she tells me, so I, 30-year-old male, come from a well-off family, but my dad always taught me to work hard and have class. When I was 14, I started working at my dad's company part-time to earn my allowance. And when I turned 16, I became a real part-time employee. My dad decided to retire when I was 29 and handed the business to me. Back in my second year of university, I met Kim, 20-year-old male at the time. 29-year-old male now. We were in the same course and ended up in the same group for a group project near the beginning of the year. We had a similar sense of humor and clicked as friends quickly. One day he mentioned he loves to cook, and I told him we should cook together because I love to cook too. And that weekend, we went to his place, brought some ingredients, and cooked together. This then became us going shopping for ingredients after classes on Friday. I'd stay at his place the night, and we would cook on the weekend, and this became our weekly routine. Back then I just told others that we were just friends, but with hindsight, that is definitely when I started to fall for him. I finally asked him out a few months later, and he said yes. We lived in the same house with 2 other friends in our 3rd year, and I asked him to move in with me after we graduated. From the beginning, I told Kim that I would not care if he didn't work, but he insisted he wanted to contribute financially. But after about a year, I had to make him stop due to the differences in our incomes. He was working himself half to death and was getting ill trying to contribute enough. I sat him down and told him that whatever money he made didn't matter, that if he wanted to work, I wanted him to be happy. He cut back his hours, then moved to part-time, then decided to quit and work on his own projects. But he insisted I let him take on some of the housework. Now on to the issue. My sister, 32-year-old female, she and her partner, 31-year-old male, both work, and he also makes significantly less than her. And in private to me, she's made it known that she resents being the breadwinner. She sees all her male colleagues spoil and treat their wives and wishes her partner would do the same. He does, but just not to the same level, due to the fact he makes basically half as much as they do. Recently, I was talking to her about what I am going to get Kim for his birthday next month. She kept telling me my ideas were too much and that I should get something cheaper since he doesn't contribute. I got a bit annoyed because I've told her about Kim's insecurities of not making or being enough. I told her he contributes more than enough. She then called him a glorified gold digger, and I yelled at her, telling her to shut up and to not talk about Kim that way. After calming down, I do feel bad. I know how she feels about her own financial position, but I don't think it's fair that she takes it out on me or Kim, even if Kim wasn't physically there. So am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You and Kim are happy and have things worked out. Kudos. Your sister is projecting, envious, and apparently quite materialistic. You were also defending your significant other after she was outlandishly disrespectful towards him. More kudos. 10 points to Gryffindor. Manga 20 point Slytherin. Comment 2. Not the idiot. It sounds like your sister is projecting her frustrations, insecurities, onto you and Kim. If your relationship with Kim works for you, and sis needs to butt out. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a week since I posted about the argument with my sister over my partner Kim's birthday present and calling him a glorified gold digger. I've got an update for you all, and let me tell you, it's been a roller coaster. So after the fight with my sister, things were pretty tense. I was still fuming, but I decided to give her some space to cool off. Meanwhile, Kim's birthday was coming up, and I was determined to make it special. I went ahead with my original plan, which was to get him a vintage record player. He's been collecting vinyl for years, and I knew it would mean the world to him. The day before Kim's birthday, my sister reached out to me. She wanted to apologize and asked if we could meet up. I agreed, hoping we could mend things. We met at a coffee shop, and she started off by saying she was sorry for what she said about Kim. But then, she dropped a bombshell. She confessed that she and her partner were having serious relationship problems, and they were considering splitting up. She admitted that her resentment about the financial situation was just the tip of the iceberg. I was shocked. My sister and her partner always seemed like the perfect couple, but she explained that they'd been growing apart for a while, and the money issues were just making it worse. She said she was envious of the relationship Kim and I have, where money isn't a source of conflict. It was a lot to take in, and I felt bad for her. I told her that I was there for her, no matter what. On Kim's birthday, I surprised him with the record player, and he was over the moon. He couldn't believe I remembered a conversation we had years ago about his dream record player. It was a great moment, and I was so happy to see him smile like that. But then, later that day, things took a turn. Kim sat me down and said he had something to tell me. He'd been feeling guilty about not contributing financially and had been secretly working on a project for the past few months. He'd been developing a recipe blog, and it had started to take off. He'd even been approached by a publisher interested in turning it into a cookbook. I was stunned. I had no idea he'd been working on this, and I was so proud of him. But then he said he felt like he'd been lying to me by keeping it a secret. I reassured him that I understood why he did it, and I was just happy he found something he was passionate about. The next day, my sister called me again. She and her partner had decided to take a break. She was moving back in with our parents for a while. It was a bittersweet moment. On one hand, I was glad she was taking steps to find happiness, but on the other, it was sad to see her relationship fall apart. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.